I'll be talking about current concepts in management of traumatic macular holes, basically the dilemma we face as surgeons to peel or to wait. I have no financial disclosures. Now, traumatic macular holes, as we know, as opposed to the idiopathic macular holes, are more common in young men. They are more common in closed globe trauma as opposed to open globe injuries. Rarely they can be seen following iatrogenic laser injury, following surgical trauma during vitrectomy, lightning, and even electric shocks. Now, the prognosis is uncertain due to accompanying trauma-induced retinal pathology such as commotio retinae, vitreous hemorrhage, retinal hemorrhage, choroidal ruptures, RP damage, subretinal neovascularization, and fibrosis. So the point that Dr. Supriya made in the end, I would like to make right at the start, that no matter how good a prognosis it looks like, when there's a history of trauma, always be wary and be good with your documentation and medical legal services. Now, the pathogenesis has been debated between being anterior-posterior vitreous traction causing true loss of foveal tissue and equatorial expansion of the globe following trauma resulting in tangential vitreoretinal forces transmitted to the macula with centripetal forces separating the neurosensory layers at the fovea. So this can result in a central defect without any loss of foveal tissue and might also account for the high rate of spontaneous closure as is seen. Now, what are some of the clinical pearls when you are faced with the case of traumatic macular hole? Firstly, remember to check for RAPT in any trauma case and angle recession prior to dilatation. A careful peripheral examination with indentation is extremely important to not to miss out any retinal breaks or dialysis. Otherwise, what was just a simple macular hole could land up with an RD in your next follow-up visit. Fundus autofluorescence is an important tool to document any associated RP damage, which may not be evident clinically. Now, what is the role of OCT? Of course, you will do an OCT when you see or suspect a traumatic macular hole, and it has been seen that these are more eccentric or less circular than idiopathic macular holes. Another pointer is that the horizontal diameter is much more than the vertical diameter. Now, unlike idiopathic holes, there has been no correlation between visual acuity and the size of traumatic macular holes. And especially if you're waiting and watching, looking for spontaneous closure, then you need to do repeated OCTs to monitor the progress. Now, these are some of the cases, where macular hole associated with choroidal rupture, where you would be very wary of operating, especially if the choroidal rupture is in the papillomacular bundle or so close to the center of the fovea. Now, these are some other cases which we encountered where the fundus autofluorescence actually and the multicolor imaging actually brought out the RP defects much more than the normal clinical photographs. These are again cases which you should not operate. Now, coming to the point of this talk, whether to wait or to peel. So why this question? Now, it has been seen that there is a high rate of spontaneous closure of traumatic macular holes, especially in children, where up to half of them close spontaneously, and young adults, where up to 1/3 of them close without any intervention. This is most commonly seen within the first 2 months of injury. The factors on OCT associated with this higher rate of closure are a smaller basal diameter of the hole and absence of intraretinal cysts. Now, see, this was a patient, a young male who presented with subretinal hemorrhage and a very small macular hole on OCT, you can see. And this is follow-up after 1 month. You can see there is closure of the hole with restoration of all the retinal layers. Another patient with a post-traumatic macular hole, and here you can see the spontaneous closure has occurred. There is some increase in the RP atrophy, which was present away from the fovea. This is another image documenting the step-by-step. This is actually 2 weekly follow-up showing how there is an outer retinal defect which decreases, and then finally there is anatomic restoration of all the retinal layers. So what are the mechanisms for this spontaneous closure? Most commonly, it is accepted to be glial cell proliferation from the RP to the basal surface of the hole. Now, if there is an element of anterior-posterior traction, especially in the younger age group, occurrence of complete PVD may also assist in hole closure. And then the cases with Berlin's edema, once the edema resolves, the edges of the hole may approximate closer to the RP, resolving the central full thickness defect. But on the other hand, you can also see the top case, a small macular hole, and as we just observed it, the size increased and there was a lot of fibrosis and scarring. Another case which appeared a small macular hole with the ERM and then later on turned to be a much larger hole on follow-up. So how do we decide which case to follow up and which to operate? Now, the balance between waiting long enough for spontaneous closure, but not so long that the likelihood of an anatomical successful outcome is reduced is what we are looking at. And this timing is usually 1 to 3 months. The procedure which means if a hole has not closed by 3 months, then you should definitely operate. The procedure is a standard microincision vitrectomy surgery with PVD induction. Now, various techniques have been tried, ranging from an ILM peel to an ILM flap to an inverted flap. And we know gas tamponade is always preferable over oil. Now, the use of adjuvants is especially being mentioned in traumatic macular holes, such as autologous serum, which is the easiest, TGF-beta2 and platelet concentrate, because again, these fibrin-rich substances help to induce glial cell proliferation, which can help especially in closing large defects. What are the prognosis? Meta-analysis have shown a successful closure rate of around 83%. But again, a reminder that trauma-induced photoreceptor and RP damage may limit the visual potential, and these can appear several weeks after the injury, hence always give a guarded visual prognosis. EZ attenuation on pre-op OCT and a worse presenting visual acuity are associated with poorer visual outcomes. Now, this was actually a good prognosis case, a small macular hole in a young male, and after surgery, you can see the EZ, ELM, they have all been restored. Another such patient, this patient went an inverted ILM flap technique, and again, you can see some closure, and this is despite a small choroidal rupture in the papillomacular bundle. Now, this was a case of a post-traumatic horseshoe tear that we encountered. And even after surgery, there was a lot of scarring, even though the retinal integrity was achieved. And this is where I said that sometimes the RP damage can appear even several weeks later. So you should guard the patient against this. What are the take-home messages? Traumatic macular holes are common in young men with closed globe injuries. A careful examination should be done to rule out RAPD, look for angle recession and peripheral retinal breaks. Eyes with extensive RP damage, you must do a FAF in all these patients, and choroidal rupture should avoid being operated upon, especially if the choroidal rupture is large in the papillomacular bundle or close to the fovea. Cases in children or young adults with a small basal diameter on OCT and absence of intraretinal cyst can be watched for spontaneous closure for a period of 1 to 3 months. If, however, these conditions are not met, then surgical management can result in successful closure in up to 83% of cases. Thank you for your patient hearing.